I never thought I'd hold a gun to my brother's head, but there I was, finger itching on the trigger, his eyes pleading like the kid who used to steal my crayons and blame the dog. Family said my research was too simple for academia. Then Harvard called me to lead their program, and that's when the real nightmare began. Because success has a way of digging up graves you thought were sealed. In that split second, as thunder cracked outside our childhood home in suburban Chicago, I wondered if pulling it would make me the monster, or just even the score. The call from Harvard came on a Tuesday in late September. The kind of crisp autumn day where the leaves crunch under your boots like brittle bones. I was hunched over my laptop in the cramped basement office of the community college where I'd been scraping by as an adjunct professor for 5 years. My research, nothing flashy, just a straightforward model for predicting urban heat islands using open-source satellite data, had been dismissed by my family as cute hobby stuff at the last Thanksgiving dinner. My brother, Jack, the golden boy with his Ivy League MBA and corner office at Dad's firm, had laughed loudest, clapping me on the back like I was the family jester. Ellie, stick to teaching kindergartners about recycling. Leave the big leagues to the pros. Mom had shushed him, but her eyes said it all, pity mixed with that quiet disappointment she'd carried since I dropped out of my PhD program a decade ago. Dad, ever the patriarch, just nodded along, his silence heavier than words. They didn't know the half of it, how I'd bailed on the doctorate not because I couldn't hack it, but because Jack needed me to. That secret had festered like an untreated wound, and Harvard's email was the infection breaking through the skin. Dr. Eleanor Hayes. It read, "We are thrilled to offer you the position of lead researcher in our climate resilience initiative. Your innovative, accessible approach to geospatial modeling aligns perfectly with our mission to democratize environmental science." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Lead researcher? At Harvard? Me? The screw-up sister who'd spent her 20s covering for Jack's screw-ups. I hit reply before I could talk myself out of it, fingers flying across the keys. By Friday, I was on a red-eye to Boston for interviews, the skyline of my new life glittering like a promise I wasn't sure I deserved. Jack called that night, his voice slurred just enough to tell me he'd cracked open the bourbon early. Heard the news. Sis. Harvard? That's. Wow. Dad's gonna flip. There was a pause, the kind that stretched like taffy, and I could picture him in his high-rise condo overlooking Lake Michigan, swirling his glass, that charming smile masking the calculation underneath. Proud of you. El. Really? But hey, don't forget the little people when you're rubbing elbows with the elites. I laughed it off, told him about the campus tour, the oak-paneled offices that smelled like old money and fresh ambition. We reminisced about summers at the cabin upstate, skipping stones on the lake, back when he was just my annoying big brother, not the shark who'd clawed his way to VP at Hayes Investments by age 32. By the time I hung up, the doubt had crept in. Why did his congratulations feel like a warning? The first month in Boston was a whirlwind of grant proposals and late-night coding sessions. My team, a ragtag bunch of postdocs and undergrads more excited about my everywoman vibe than my credentials, dove into the project with the fervor of converts. We mapped heat vulnerabilities in low-income neighborhoods, our models spitting out data that could save lives during the next killer summer. The dean pulled me aside after my first seminar. Ellie, this isn't just research. It's revolution. Simple. Yes, but that's its power. Simple. The word echoed like a curse. At home, in the shoebox apartment I'd rented in Cambridge, I'd pour wine and scroll through old photos, Jack and me at prom, Him towering over me in that rented tux, the two of us at Dad's funeral 5 years back, arms linked as we lowered the casket. Dad had built Hayes Investments from a garage startup into a mid-tier hedge fund, specializing in green energy plays. Jack had inherited the reins seamlessly, while I'd faded into the background, adjuncting and adjuncting. My name barely a footnote in the family ledger. But the secret? That was the rot at the core. 10 years ago, during my second year of grad school at Northwestern, Jack had come to me in tears. I fucked up. Big time. He'd cooked the books on a major deal, a $2 million green bond issuance that was supposed to fund solar farms, but instead lined his pockets with kickbacks from shady developers. The SEC was sniffing around, and if it blew up, Dad's empire would crumble. "You're the smart one," he'd begged. "Take the fall. Say, it was your internship project. I'll make it right. I swear." Stupid, lovesick grad student that I was, crushing on a TA, buried in debt, desperate for family approval, I'd done it. Forged the emails, signed the falsified reports, let them pin it on the overeager intern. The fallout? Expulsion from the program. A sealed indictment that killed any chance at federal grants, and a black mark on my CV that followed me like a shadow. Jack. He got a slap on the wrist, a learning experience, and Dad's glowing endorsement to climb the ladder. I'd borne the crime for him, buried the secret so deep it scarred my soul. All because blood was thicker than justice. Now, with Harvard's halo glowing around me, the past started whispering. It began with an anonymous email. "Ask your brother about the old solar scam." He's at it again. Attached was a PDF, grainy scans of ledgers, transfers to offshore accounts. Hayes Investments, under Jack's watch, was laundering money through fake carbon credits, propping up fossil fuel dinosaurs while preaching sustainability. The scale? Tens of millions. My stomach twisted. Was this karma? Or just the universe's sick joke? I confronted him over FaceTime. My new office at the Kennedy School framing me like an imposter queen. "Jack, what the hell is this?" I waved the printout at the camera, voice steady but laced with the tremor I'd honed from years of faking confidence. His face flickered, charmed to confusion to that patented Hayes deflection. Come on. Old news. Some disgruntled ex-employee stirring shit. He leaned in, eyes softening. "You're killing it at Harvard. Don't let family drama derail you. Fly home for the holidays. We'll sort it." "Sort it?" "Like last time." I hung up, but the seed was planted. That night, I couldn't sleep. Rain lashed the windows, and in the dark, I mapped it out, not heat islands, but vendettas. If Jack was poisoning the well again, I'd drain it dry. But how? Expose him? The firm was family, and Mom was barely holding on after Dad's heart attack. Ruin him, and I'd orphan her too. The decision crystallized over coffee with my advisor, Dr. Lena Vasquez, a no-nonsense Latina powerhouse who'd clawed her way from barrio fieldwork to tenure. "Ellie," she said, stirring her espresso with surgical precision, "your work's brilliant. But brilliance without backbone is just noise. What's eating you?" I spilled it, all of it. The old betrayal. The new suspicions. Her eyes narrowed. Not in judgment, but calculation. Revenge isn't a straight line, Mia. It's a web. You pull one thread, and it all unravels or tangles you tighter. She slid a card across the table. "Marcus Hale, investigative journalist." Boston Globe. Talk to him. But remember, truth cuts both ways. Marcus was a chain-smoking relic in his 40s, holed up in a dive bar off Boylston Street that smelled like stale peanuts and regret. Over whiskeys that burned like accusations, I handed over the files. Off the record for now, I said. Just dig. He grinned. Wolfish. Off the record's my favorite. Hayes Investments? Juicy. Your brother's got that silver spoon shine. But I've heard whispers. Give me a week. A week turned into 2. Then a month of radio silence from Jack. Texts unanswered. Calls to voicemail. Mom left voicemails. Voice quavering. Ellie? Honey. Jack's under a lot of stress. The firm's facing audits. Come home. We need you. Need me. Like a scapegoat. Or a savior. Harvard kept me anchored. My program launched with fanfare, a TEDx talk that went semi-viral. Policymakers citing my models in congressional hearings. Reporters called me the accessible oracle of climate chaos. But every applause felt hollow. Every accolade a brick in the wall I'd built around the truth. Then Marcus called. Voice hushed like he was dodging feds. Ellie, it's bigger than we thought. Jack's not just skimming. He's in bed with Russian oligarchs, funneling dirty money into U.S. elections via green PACs. And get this, your old scandal? He leaked it to tank your career when you started sniffing too close last year. Last year? Before Harvard. Rage boiled up. Hot and viscous. What do we do? Publish. But it's your call. Go public. And you burn the bridge to your family. Or we wait. Build airtight. Let the feds handle it. Wait. That was Jack's game. Always. I chose fire. The article dropped on a Monday morning. Front page. Greenwashing scandal. Hedge fund heir launders millions in climate fraud. My name was nowhere anonymous source, but the details were surgical. Dates. Accounts. The solar scam tie-in. By noon, Hayes Investments stock plummeted 40%. Jack's face was everywhere. That boyish charm cracked into something feral. He called at 2 p.m., number blocked but voice distorted through a burner app. You bitch. After everything, I made you who you are, covered your ass when you couldn't hack grad school. Liar. I hissed, pulse thundering. I covered yours. And now the world's seeing the real Jack Hayes. A laugh. Bitter as bile. World, please. Dad's legacy is me. You're the footnote. But fine, war it is. The backlash hit like a nor'easter. Protests outside my office. Signs screaming, traitor in the ivory tower, assuming I was the whistleblower. Which I wasn't. Not yet. Lena pulled strings. Got me security. But the hate mail piled up. Death threats scrawled in Sharpie. Emails promising to expose the Hayes whore. Mom showed up unannounced. Frail in her Burberry coat. Eyes red-rimmed. We sat in a coffee shop off campus. Steam rising between us like unspoken sins. Ellie? Why? Jack's destroyed. The firm's bankrupt. He's talking suicide. Guilt clawed my throat. He did this. Mom. Not me. She reached across. Hand trembling. Family protects family. You forgot that when you ran off to Boston. Forgot? I'd remembered it every day. The weight of his crimes on my back. But her words landed like shrapnel. Was I the villain here? Dismantling the only empire we'd had? Jack flipped the script that night. A press conference from his lawyer's office. tears streaming. My sister, Eleanor Hayes, the Harvard darling, orchestrated this out of jealousy. She fabricated evidence to seize control of the family business. Its sibling rivalry gone toxic. The internet erupted. Save Jack Hayes trended, painting me as the ambitious harpy, the woman scorned by academia who lashed out at her successful brother. My TEDx views tanked. Donors pulled funding. Lena called an emergency meeting. Step back. Ellie. Let it cool. But cooling wasn't in my blood anymore. I flew home to Chicago, the city lights blurring through tears on the descent. The family home loomed like a mausoleum, Victorian gingerbread, now weathered and for sale. Jack answered the door in sweatpants, unshaven, a ghost of the golden boy. Come to gloat, to end this. I pushed past him into the study, Dad's old den with its leather chairs and walls of books that hid ledgers. Confess.
For real this time.
Or, I go on record, tell the world what you made me do 10 years ago. His eyes flickered, fear, then cunning. And Mom? She'd die knowing her daughter's a felon too. Accomplice.
Ellie.
You signed those papers. The bluff hit hard. But I held. I'm done carrying you. We circled each other like wolves. Words as weapons. He admitted fragments, the oligarchs. The laundered millions but twisted it. I did it for us. Dad's debts were crushing. Your simple research wouldn't pay them. Lies layered on lies. Each flip eroding my resolve. Then the twist, a knock at the door. FBI agents. Badges gleaming. Eleanor Hayes? We need to talk about your role in the Hayes fraud. My blood iced. Jack's smile was serpentine. Told you. Sis. War. They cuffed me in the foyer. Mom's sobs echoing as they read my rights. The old confession. The one I'd signed. Jack had leaked it. Doctored to implicate me deeper. Accomplice. Indeed. As the squad car pulled away, sirens wailing into the night, I saw him in the window, phone to ear, already spinning the narrative. But revenge isn't a gun, it's a virus. From lockup, I called Marcus. Publish everything. The full truth. The next day's Globe, twisted legacy, Hayes siblings in fraud web, who betrayed whom? It split the nation, pundits on cable news debating if I was avenger or co-conspirator, if Jack was victim or viper. My trial loomed, but so did his charges mounting. Empire ashes. In the end, as I stood before the judge, plea deal for time served, community service in climate outreach, Jack took the fall alone. 20 years in federal pen. Mom visited once. Forgiveness in her eyes, but distance in her voice. Harvard waited. Program intact. My simple work now legend. Was it justice? Or just another betrayal? Me against blood? As I stepped into the Boston sun, free but fractured, I wondered if the real monster was the one who pulled the trigger or the one who loaded the gun. The courtroom smelled like polished oak and desperation. The kind that clings to the air after too many broken dreams have been hammered into verdicts. 6 months after the cuffs clicked around my wrists, I sat in that federal courthouse in downtown Chicago, the weight of my plea bargain pressing down like an invisible yoke. Jack was across the aisle, shackled and suited, his once charming face hollowed by pretrial stress and bad prison food. Our eyes met once, his pleading, mine steel, and I looked away, focusing on the bailiff's monotone roll call. The judge, a stern woman with silver hair and a gavel that cracked like thunder, peered over her glasses at the packed gallery. Reporters scribbled furiously. Mom clutched her rosary in the front row, whispering prayers that felt more like curses. MS. Hayes, the judge intoned. Your cooperation has been noted. Reduced sentence, 18 months probation, 500 hours community service. But understand, this isn't absolution. It's accountability. Accountability.
The word tasted like ash.
I'd spilled everything to the feds, the forged signatures, the buried emails, Jack's tearful pleas in that dingy dorm room a decade ago. In return, they flipped me from defendant to star witness, peeling back layers of Hayes' investments like an onion of deceit. Oligarch money funneled through sham NGOs. Election bribes disguised as eco-donations. It was a house of cards built on Dad's good name. And Jack had been the architect, flipping from loyal son to ruthless operator with the ease of changing ties. As the gavel fell, sealing my freedom, flashbulbs popped like gunfire. I shuffled out a side door, Lena waiting in her sensible Prius, engine idling like a getaway car. Get in.
Ellie.
Boston's calling. The drive to O'Hare was a blur of expressway gray and half-formed apologies. I should have seen it coming, she said, merging onto I-90. Family's the original blind spot. Back in Cambridge. Harvard hadn't fired me, scandal or no. My program's metrics were gold. Donors trickled back, titillated by the drama. The whistleblower sister versus the crooked brother. My office now had a plaque. Eleanor Hayes, Director of Climate Equity. But the hook in my gut twisted every time I passed a mirror, seeing not triumph, but the ghost of the girl who'd traded her future for fraternal love. Jack's trial started 2 weeks later. A media circus that made OJ look like a traffic court. I testified on day 3, sworn in with a Bible that felt heavier than truth. The prosecutor, a bulldog named Ramirez, led me through it step by step. The original scam, my coerced complicity, the recent leaks that reignited the fire. MS. Hayes, he pressed. Why protect him for so long? I glanced at Jack, his lawyer objecting furiously to speculation. Because he's my brother.
Blood.
And blood lies. The gallery murmured. Mom stifled a sob. Jack's cross-exam was a masterclass in gaslighting his attorney, a slick Fox News regular, painting me as the jealous underachiever, the adjunct with an axe to grind. Isn't it true, Dennis Hayes, that you envied your brother's success? That Harvard was your chance at payback. Payback. I shot back, voice echoing off the wood panels. I envied nothing. I carried his sins so he could shine. The jury deliberated for 4 days. Days I spent holed up in a safe house outside the city, courtesy of the U.S. Marshals. Marcus Hale bunkered with me, pounding out follow-ups on his ancient typewriter, click-clack like accusatory fingers. You're a hero, Ellie, he said over takeout tie. But heroes bleed. Bleed I did. Nightmares of Dad's funeral replayed, Jack's eulogy, all polish and poise, while I stood silent, the family's secret burning my tongue. By verdict day, the safe house walls closed in. I itched for air. For resolution. Guilty, the foreman read, on all counts. Wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. Jack's sentence? 25 years. No parole. He didn't look at me as they led him away, just stared at Mom, mouthing sorry like it could stitch the wounds. The press hailed it as the Hayes reckoning, but victory tasted Pyrrhic. Mom cut contact. Her final email a curt heel alone. Lena urged therapy. I dove into work instead, expanding the program to include ethics modules on corporate greenwashing. Simple, accessible, now with teeth. But Jack wasn't done flipping. 6 months post-sentencing. A letter arrived at my office. Postmarked Leavenworth. No return address. But the handwriting was his loopy,
boyish.
Ellie, they say prison changes a man. Maybe.
But you?
You were always the unbreakable one. I didn't leak your old confession, not fully. That was Mom. She knew about the solar scam from the start. Covered for me because dads will left everything to the capable son. When you started rising, she panicked. Feared you'd unravel it all. Leave her penniless. I'm rotting here because of you. But hell, maybe I earned it. Twist. The feds found Dad's hidden accounts, millions stashed in the Caymans. Legit inheritance he hid from taxes. It's yours now, half-sister. DNA test in the envelope. Mom's affair, 1985. You're not fully Hayes blood. That's why she hated your simple genius, reminded her of him. The janitor she fucked on the side. Use it wisely. Or burn it. Your call.
Jack.
The DNA swab kit mocked me from the table. A plastic vial of what-ifs. Half-sister? The affair? It explained the distance. Mom's favoritism. The way she'd always eyed my practical brain like an alien artifact. I mailed it off anonymously. Results confirming 48% matched to Jack. Not the 50% of full sibs. The inheritance transfer followed, $4.2 million. Wired clean after IRS clause. Rage or relief. I funneled it into the program. Endowed scholarships for first-gen students. Labs in underserved hoods. Harvard toasted me at a gala. Champagne flutes clinking like fragile truces. But in quiet moments, staring at the rain-slicked Charles River, I debated. Expose Mom's secret? Let her twist in her widow's weeds? The call came from an unknown number, Leavenworth prefix.
Jack.
On a monitored line. Read it yet?
Yeah. My voice was ice.
Why tell me? Truth's the ultimate revenge.
El.
Or absolution. Flip the script one last time. He hung up, leaving static and questions. I drove to Mom's that weekend. The old house sold. Her now in a condo that screamed downsized dignity. She opened the door in pearls and defeat. Coffee breath masking the bourbon.
Ellie.
To what do I owe? The affair. 1985. Dad knew. Her face crumpled. Makeup cracking like old plaster.
He.
Suspected. But Jack was his in every way that mattered. You were the reminder. The mistake I couldn't abort. Tears. Real ones. I leaked the files to protect him.
From you.
From the truth. We talked for hours. Confessions spilling like floodwaters. Dad's rages. The firm's early debts. Her desperation to keep the facade. No apologies. Just raw edges. I love you both, she whispered. But blood's a chain. I left with the check and signed, uncashed. Burned it in a Harvard incinerator. Ashes scattering like shed skin. Simple act. Profound unburdening. But the twist lingered. Jack's letters kept coming, penitent 1 week. Scheming the next. Proposing prison break alliances against the system. I wrote back once, stay buried. He flipped again. Testifying against cartel partners. Shaving years off his bid. Out in 12. Maybe. As my probation ticked down, I stood at that podium again. Projector humming. Students rapt. Climate justice isn't just data, I said, voice steady. It's reckoning with the storms we create, and the ones we're born into. The audience applauded. But in the back row, a shadowy figure slipped out. Mom? A reporter? Or just paranoia? Revenge's shadow is long. And in America's grind, no one's ever fully free. Winter gripped Boston like a grudge. Snow piling on the common in drifts that buried sins under white purity. A year into my directorship, the program thrived, partnerships with City Hall, models influencing Biden-era infrastructure bills, but the nights were mine, haunted by what-ifs and whiskey neat. Jack's letters had tapered, but his ghost lingered, a cunning specter flipping between remorse and manipulation. Mom's revelations had cracked the family vault wide, spilling secrets that poisoned the air between us. We spoke monthly now. Stilted calls laced with subtext, her health failing. My success a silent indictment. It started with a tip from Marcus Hale. Over oysters at Legal Seafoods. The kind of power lunch that felt more like confession. Ellie, your brother's talking. In Leavenworth. He's cut a deal, naming names up the food chain. Russian mob. Wall Street enablers. But one's close, Senator Harlan Crow. The green energy hawk who keynoted your Harvard launch. Crow? The silver fox poll with the Ashok drawl. Who'd praised my folksy brilliance in a tweet that got me 10K followers. What's the angle? Marcus lit a forbidden smoke under the table. Eyes darting. Jack funneled cash to Crow's PAC. In return, legislation killing competitors to haze dirty deals. Your testimony sealed Jack. But Crow's Teflon until now. My fork paused midair. Oyster forgotten. And me. You're the hook. Go public. Tie it to your work. Climate Crusader exposes capital corruption. Pulitzer bait. Or suicide. Professionally. Crow chaired the Senate Environment Committee, one word from him, and my grants evaporated. But the betrayal burned fresh, another layer. Jack's web snaring innocents like me. I nodded.
Slow.
Dig deeper. I'll decide. The deeper Marcus dug, the uglier it got. Crow hadn't just taken bribes. He'd buried reports on methane leaks from fracked wells, all to prop up haze-backed pipelines. My own models, ironically, had flagged the risks. Data Crow dismissed as overly simplistic. Simple again. The curse that fueled me. I wrestled with it in therapy. A court-mandated shrink named Dr. Patel, who probed like a surgeon. Revenge. Haze. Is a cycle. Break it, or become your brother. Too late, I snapped. He flipped on me. I flipped the table. Now what? She leaned forward, glasses glinting.
Choice.
Expose. And risk everything. Or integrate. Use the pain for policy. Integrate. The word mocked me as I pored over Crow's donor lists late into March. Blizzards howling outside. Jack called again. Voice gravel from isolation. Heard you're sniffing Crow. Smart. But careful, he's got dirt on Mom too. Old affair wasn't just the janitor. Crow's dad was the money man. Covered Dad's gambling debts to keep the firm afloat. Another flip. Jack dangling bait. Why help now? Redemption's a bitch. Or boredom. Your move. I hung up, dialing Mom instead. Tell me about Crow Sr. Silence. Then a sigh like wind through cracks. Ancient history. He loaned Dad seed money, took equity. When the affair leaked, your birth, he hushed it for shares. Harlan inherited the favor.
Favor.
The polite word for extortion. Crow Jr. owed the Hayes silence.
And now,
With Jack crumbling, the debt came due on me. The decision crystallized during a program retreat in the Berkshires. Cabin fever amplifying tensions.
my team diverse.
Driven, brainstormed over Esmores. How do we make equity stick when politics poisons it? One postdoc. Jamal. A black kid from Detroit with a chip on his shoulder bigger than mine. Nailed it. Call it out. No more shadows. No more shadows. Back in Boston. I drafted the op-ed. From family fraud to capitalize. Why climate justice demands political accountability. Facts only, no names at first. Just patterns linking PAC money to suppress science. Marcus shopped it to the Globe. It ran Easter Sunday. Resurrection irony thick. Crow retaliated swift. A hit piece in Politico. Harvard prof's vendetta. Hayes siblings feud spills into D.C. Anonymous sources. Crow's minions painted me as unstable. My research, activist fiction. Protests swelled outside Widener Library. Counter to gala fundraisers. Defund the drama queen. Lena rallied the faculty senate. But cracks showed, colleagues whispering about optics. Mom called. Frantic. Harlan's furious. Says it'll ruin us all.
Us.
As if I hadn't been the sacrificial lamb. Jack's next letter was a bombshell. Transcripts of Crow's calls. Recorded in the joint, him pressuring Jack to handle the sister pre-arrest. Use this, Jack scrawled. Endgame. Endgame. I leaked it to Ramirez, the prosecutor. Feds moved fast. Subpoena on Crow. Raids on PAC offices. The senator lawyered up. Flipping to cooperation, naming bigger fish. A web of senators and CEOs. My name stayed clean. Source protected. But the fallout? My program ballooned. Emergency funding from DOJ for whistleblower initiatives. Yet the tension coiled tighter. Crow. Cornered. Went nuclear. Oppressor from his Wyoming ranch. Drawl dripping venom. This Hayes woman? Bitter.
Betrayed.
Her brother's a crook. Now she's hunting scalps. But mark my words, there's more to her story. Check the DNA. The gallery gasped. Twitter imploded. Hayes' half-truth trended. Trolls digging into public records. Piecing the affair puzzle. Mom vanished, phone off.
Condo dark.
I drove to Chicago in a rental. Heart hammering. Arriving at her building under sodium lights that buzzed like accusations. She was packing, suitcases half-zipped. Photos of Dad and Jack strewn like casualties.
Ellie.
You had to push. Crow threatened you? A nod. Defeated. To expose everything. The affair. The loans, your illegitimacy. Said it'd tank your Harvard fairy tale. Illegitimacy. The word stung archaic. American as apple pie prejudice. Fight him. With me. She laughed. Hollow. I'm tired.
Honey.
Let the men war. We'll clean up.
No.
I grabbed her arm. The first physical anchor in years. We're not props anymore. We flew back together. Mom bunking in my guest room, a truce of chamomile tea and tear-streaked confessions. She testified remotely for the Crow probe, voice quavering but true, the cover-ups, the debts, the desperate choices. Feds ate it up. Crow's empire cracked. Resignation by week's end.
Jack. From his cell.
Sent a final note. Proud. Half-sis. But watch your back. Blood always circles. Circles. As spring thawed the Charles, I stood on the Weeks Bridge, wind whipping my coat, Mom's frail hand in mine. The city pulsed below, hustle, betrayal, redemption in neon veins. Was this the climax? Divisive as a knife edge? Readers, jurors, the public, they'd argue. Hero or homewrecker? Savior or scavenger? The tension peaked at the sentencing hearing for Crow. Me in the gallery. Anonymous but electric. He glared as the judge dropped the hammer. 10 years. Forfeiture of assets. Justice, the man muttered, is a family affair.
Outside.
Reporters swarmed. I slipped away. Mom on my arm. But the real storm brewed in whispers. Jack's early release petition. Granted for substantial assistance. Out in 7 months. Freedom's a double-edged blade. And, in this American odyssey, no one's arc bends clean. Summer scorched Boston like a fever dream, humidity turning the streets into saunas of simmering resentments. With Crow behind bars and my program canonized in policy circles, White House citations, UN panels beckoning, the surface gleamed. But undercurrents pulled. Jack's release date circled on my calendar like a vulture's shadow. Mom's health a fragile thread fraying under chemo's assault. Cancer. Stage 3. Irony's cruelest cut. The woman who'd buried secrets now hollowed by truth's radiation. I visited her weekly in the condo I'd bought nearby. A neutral ground with views of the harbor that mocked our turbulence. Ellie, she'd say, for drip beeping softly. You did right by exposing it all. But at what cost? Her eyes, once sharp with calculation, now softened by morphine and mortality. The cost of silence, I'd reply, squeezing her hand. We paid that for too long. Jack's parole hearing was a closed affair. But Marcus fed me leaks, glowing reports from the warden. Model inmate who'd mentored cons in financial literacy, ironic, given his curriculum vitae. Granted. Out August 15th. He called first. Collect from a halfway house in Joliet. Voice reedy, but laced with that old charm.
El.
Fresh air tastes like regret. Can I see you? Clear the air. Regret. Or reconnaissance. Chicago. Neutral turf. Mom, too. The diner off Route 66 was a time capsule, red vinyl booths. Jukebox crooning Springsteen. The boss's gravel mirroring Jack's cadence as he slid in opposite us. Thinner. Tattooed forearm peeking from his flannel. Prison ink. A compass rose pointing nowhere. Mom stiffened, but reached for his hand. I hung back. Coffee black as suspicion. Jack, she whispered, tears brimming. My boys, my children. He squeezed, eyes flicking to me. Cis or half, whatever. Thanks for the letters. Kept me sane. Letters I'd written but never sent, forwarded by the warden as therapeutic exercise. Cautious olive branches, probing his flips. You're welcome, I said. Now what?
Now?
Clean slate. He leaned in, voice dropping. Crow's crew is done. But there's a go stop, Dad's old Cayman stash. The one I mentioned. Not just inheritance, it's leverage. Against the real players, the Saudis who bankrolled the oligarchs. Another flip. From penitent to plotter. Mom's eyes widened. I tamped my flare. No more webs.
Jack.
You're out, stay out. He chuckled.
Low.
Always the straight arrow.
Fine.
But if you change your mind. A napkin slid across. Scribbled coordinates, offshore account. Password blood simple. We parted with hugs that felt like farewells. Driving back, Mom mused, "He's still your brother."
Ellie.
Flawed. But family.
Flawed.
The polite euphemism for Frankenstein's monster. Fall brought harvest. My program won a MacArthur grant. Genius, money that bought labs in Roxbury, and a sabbatical I didn't take. Instead, I dove into the Cayman lead, curiosity a gateway drug. Hired a forensic accountant, discreet, ex-FBI, to trace it. Results? $12 million. Clean provenance. Dad's pre-scandal windfall. Hidden from IRS but untouchable now post-amnesty. And a file. Encrypted emails from 1995. Dad to a Saudi prince. Alliance for mutual gain. Your oil. Our green facade. The birth of the fraud. Seeds Jack harvested. I confronted Jack via secure video. His halfway house backdrop a sad fluorescent glow. Dad started it. A nod. Weary. Knew the risks. Told me to protect you both. But I twisted it. Ambition's a motherfucker. Twist upon twist. Why hide this? Insurance. Against days like now. Use it. L. Expose the royals. Rewrite the narrative. Make Dad the villain. Not us. Or burn it. Absolve the ghosts. The dilemma divided me. Release the file. And global headlines erupt. US-Saudi ties strained. My name eternal. Or bury it. Let healing supplant havoc. Mom's decline accelerated. Hospice by Thanksgiving. On her bed. Morphine soft. She confessed final shards. The affair? Love. Not leverage. Your father, the janitor, was kind. Jack's fire. You're calm. Best of both worlds. I stroked her hair. Tears hot. Rest now. I've got this. She died at dawn. November 28th. The city stirring under gray skies. Funeral was small, me, Jack. A handful of cousins who'd ghosted during the scandal. At the graveside, wind whipping Lake Michigan's chill. He murmured, "She loved you more. You know." The simple one who saw clear. We scattered ashes together. A ritual truce. Then the decision. I leaked the file to Marcus. Redacted for Mom's peace. Saudi shadows. How U.S. funds fueled climate hypocrisy. It broke worldwide diplomatic furor. Congressional probes. My model cited as the canary in the coal mine. Backlash boomed. That was online. State Department calls. But protections layered. DOJ witness status. Harvard's legal fortress. Jack vanished into witness protection. A new name. New life, his final flip to ghost. The climax? A Senate hearing. Me at the witness table. Cameras live. This isn't revenge, I testified. Voice steady amid the Klieg lights. It's reckoning. For families fractured. Futures stolen by lies. Senators grilled. Was I opportunist or oracle? The room split. Applause from progressives. Scowls from old guard. No heroes. Just humans clawing truth from the mire. Twists end. Post-hearing. A package at my door. Jack's compass tattoo sketched on vellum. Note. Point true. Half-cis. Blood circles. But you broke it. Broke it? Or bent it? As snow fell again. Blanketing the common. I stood on my balcony. City lights a constellation of controversies. Harvard expanded the program. I mentored the next wave. Simple geniuses unafraid of shadows. Happy? Tragic? Readers debate. Did I avenge betrayal? Or birth new ones? In America's tense tapestry, justice is the ultimate controversy, no absolutes. Just echoes choosing sides. The gun I once imagined never fired, but its shadow lingers. A reminder, revenge isn't the act, but the choice to reload or walk away.